and Jody just can't seem to stay away from each other. Jody literally becomes Travis's kryptonite. They maintain their
Em
No, it went away.
To maximize it, so you can see everybody.
roles Chile in a way that was
To the physical and psychological torture.
I did get it, I don't know, I did get that, a little, yeah.
Which is fine. Right.
People had what these people
Can you hear us?
The light on this thing is red up here. Is it supposed to be red?
Yes. Can you hear us now? You switch it back to the one that was on.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, public comment is now. You get 3 minutes. Who would like to go first on Zoom? Anybody? They can hear us though, right?
Yes. They can hear us.
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, and they can talk too. Okay, would anyone like on Zoom? We're gonna do Zoom public comment first. We'll go through you guys if there's anyone. Does anyone want to come forward? No comments? Anybody hear anything? So I'm not gonna go back to Zoom. I'm gonna go to the audience and see if there's any public comment there. Anybody in the audience like to speak? Ms. Fessler, come forward.
Hi, I'm Sue Fessler, and I live at 1026th Street. And I want to suggest to the council for 4th of July and New Year's to ban fireworks, except for the show. We had friends that lost a dog because it got so upset, it had cancer. And it got so upset, the blood pressure went up and it bled out inside. And my dog has just been a basket case, even with the little cracklies. And I know my sister's dog has been the same way, and breeding Jervis neighbors, there was a lot of them on there. I think they need to be banned in town, especially the big booms. And it needs to be enforced really well. I don't set up a big fine for it if they get caught.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Sue, thank you. I'm sorry about the loss. Council, I really don't have any words except I don't think it's a bad idea.
I know we've talked about it before.
Can you talk in the microphone, please?
Sorry, I know we've talked about it before. I think part of it is just the, while we like the idea, I think that it's the, what's the word I'm looking for, enforcement of it is what becomes an issue, so.
Chief, what do you think about that?
The big booms are already illegal and we try to do as much as we can with it, but it's dark, it's difficult, and you have to be able to catch the person in the act. We make as many contacts as we can, we patrol around. We had very little complaints this year, although we did see lots of illegal fireworks going on. So I think it's something that the council could look at. And if you want us to proceed with research, what other communities have done, we definitely could bring back information to you to take a look at.
Nikki, you have the floor.
Yeah, I agree. I think before the issue was, we had the officers going out, but there's a lot of lookouts. So you always have those people kind of watching for a PD car to come down or looking for sirens, or not sirens, but the lights. I know myself, just before Brian and I came, there's a new resident in Jervis. Her dog's had multiple seizures and had one today, and I took some medication over for her, so it's scary.
Right. Anybody else have a comment? So would the council like the chief to start looking into some research on it? Can I get a consensus for that?
I'm good with that.
Councilman Harvey?
Sure.
Okay,
So
so,
we could also think about that, just a complete ban. And that will help detour people if there's something to go along with it, some kind of a pricey fine. That will slow people down. I mean, I'm not gonna say it'll stop everybody, but I'm sure it's gonna make a difference.
okay, so are you done, John? I propose, be my recommendation, that we get the research back and then maybe do a workshop on it or put it on the agenda, okay? So the directive would be get some research.
Yeah, we have
Consensus?
plenty of time.
Okay, thank
Year to go, but we'll work on it.
all right. And Laura, do you want to come forward and speak? You just say your name and address and then I give you 3 minutes and you can do that.
My name is Laura Gutierrez. I live at 367 East Elm Drive. And what about getting input on this issue of people that do want fireworks and not just the don'ts?
Okay.
Because there's a lot of children and parents that really enjoy it, the little fireworks from their home.
Okay.
I do see the danger
Yeah.
and stuff. I do see that. So I'm just saying the other side would be nice for them to know what's being researched and talked about.
Okay, so
Like, I don't know if there's any.
like sparklers and fountains, things that are legal, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, well, Oregon law would probably supersede us anyway on that, I would think. I mean, I'd have to research it, but I was thinking more the booms, the
yes.
big
maybe.
ones. How about council? What were you thinking?
That's-
The big booms are what I.
So everybody's on the consensus that it would be the illegal fireworks that were researched to,
Sure.
okay,
So maybe,
clarified. Go ahead, John.
so maybe we can, if we have a workshop on that, we can inform. How do you say your name?
Laura Gutierrez.
Laura? Of the workshop, and you can come and listen in on what we.
Yeah.
Figure out.
Perfect.
That'd be good.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Okay, public comment is still open. Is there anybody else who would like to come forward? Oh, sorry, Diana, did you have
I
something?
have something that came through email to all of us that I was informed that I need to read in the public comments so that it came from.
Go ahead.
It was addressed to email all of us.
I didn't get anything except some spam from
Okay,
Black Beat Death and,
so this was addressed to, it was a request for public comment and addressed to Annie, John, Kim, Mickey, Baltazar, and myself. And it says, I wanted to inquire whether the mayor's, it's from Jordan Olmsted.
oh, I answered that one. Go ahead.
And it says, I wanted to inquire whether the mayor's recent comments on the school bond measure is the city's formal position on the matter. And if the city feels that there is not a need for public schools, as the church is the only school Jervis needs. And then there is a screenshot of something that was said that says I can say what I want, that has Annie's picture. I have no information as to what this is correct or not, but it says I can say what I want about anyone I want because I am the mayor and I go to church. The church is the only school we need. This is my town, comma, retard. And then it's signed sincerely a concerned citizen. I just wanted to put that into public record because it was a public comment for the group. And to let people know that as far as I'm aware, there was no council consensus in regards to the school law.
Well, that's noble of you to say on that big
So
post. Did that answer it clear enough for everybody?
that's what.
It's a Photoshop and my people are working on it. In fact, Susie, I would like to meet with IT. I'm getting spammed by Black Death and whoever else they put on me. So I'll be calling the city attorneys as well. Anybody else have public comment? Brian, I think you were gonna come forward. Come
Yes,
on.
I am, thank you.
Just a minute, let me clear my timer.
Please do. Shall I identify myself first?
Just a minute, I gotta clear this thing.
Okay, so it'll be hard. One often and one.
Sergeant Rogers, I can time it for you. If you like.
There we go.
Got it.
We got a bunch of today, imagine that. All right, Brian, go.
All right, my name is Brian Wagner. Nikki Wagner is my wife. I live at 166 East Hemlock Drive, Jervis, Oregon. And today, all I want to do is bring together and to light 3 items that I think we all need to be aware of and start thinking about before we can actually move forward from what I call this train wreck we've been having the last few weeks. So item number 1, let's identify things. A hate group is a social group that advocates and practices hatred, hostility, or violence towards members of a race, ethnicity, nation, religion, gender identity, sexual orientation, or any other designated sector of society. That is a hate group. Number 2, now that we know there's no way all the people on the social media site in question belong to an actual hate group, let's identify properly what they really are. The citizens that you have been labeling and demonizing are nothing more than very passionate, like-minded citizens to feel their needs and concerns have not been met properly. Fear of change, as well as rumors, misunderstanding, and outright lies can lead to confrontation by angry residents who do not want to listen to anything you have to say after your trust has been lost. The only way to fix this is by educating yourself and communicating properly with all types of people, not just ones that think like yourselves. Number 3, victim playing, also known as playing the victim, is the fabrication or exaggeration of victimhood for a variety of reasons, such as to justify abuse back to others, to manipulate others, a coping strategy, attention seeking, or diffusion of responsibility. In an official capacity as city representatives, none of you should ever play the victim card. You're above that. As elected officials, if you feel the need to defend yourself from personal attacks, then you've already lost any means of coming to a mutually agreeable outcome. The animosity and bias on both sides will never end. So please, for the sake of sanity of the entire community, stop the fighting, stop letting emotions drive responses, stop playing the victim card, and start communicating with each other professionally. And to finalize this from Henry Ford, coming together is a beginning, staying together is progress, and working together is success. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for coming. Anybody have anything? Anybody on council have anything to say? Wait, oh, go ahead. You can comment to what he said,
Oh, no.
or do you want to come up?
Yeah.
Come on up. Here, wait, let's do this again. Set, go, name, address.
My name is Arcadio Peña, longtime resident at 291 East Hemlock Drive. I just want to come here, shed some light. I'm a street ministry pastor. I just wanted to let you guys know that I'm going to be going around from city to city doing water baptisms in the name of Jesus. I know I've researched prior presidents that done well in this country. George Washington said, "A nation without God is no nation at all." And that just, I look up to George Washington as a founding president. I just want to let you know who I am, show my face.
You done? Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Amen. Thank you.
Amen. That's right. Anybody else? Anybody got anything on that? Okay, any other public comment?
That's gonna be.
Okay.
Rocky.
Rocky Breed.
I'm good. My name is Rocky Sherwood. I live at 2622 Nina Place. I want to thank all the Jervis residents, Jervis Police Force, and my own chief, Police Chief Dave Rash, and his fine officers with integrity and what they do for the city of Hubbard for joining forces with Jervis to make everybody present for the parade safe. Thank you to city residents of Jervis for coming out full strength and supporting the many residents that put their time on side to enjoy our freedom. Would also like to say, we also had a major tragedy. We had some terrorists take out a parade on 4th of July and killed lots of people. I don't know where it was, but we need to get a hold of all of our communities. We need to stand united as one. We need to end this hate. We need to put our differences aside. And if there's any outside groups that come in, we need to support them and work with them. Just like if they walked into Hubbard and wanted to put on events, we'd welcome them as well. Our jobs as being promoters outside communities is spread love. It's not a pride thing, it's a community thing. That's what my grandfather raised me. And it's another opportunity to bring our blessed resident, Mr. Cole Mossletter. He's so precious to me. And he's such a good kid. He loves Jervis just as much as Hubbard with all his heart. I won't get into things because right now it's all about the communities of Jervis and Hubbard. And I'm gonna stay professional. And I will thank Councilman Harvey for all his hard work, staying in the booth, raising money for the city of Jervis. We did good. I got in the dunk tank myself and raised some money for the Veterans Wall and Skateboard. That's where it went, right? Dunk tank went to the Veterans Wall and Skateboard Park.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's good. We did good there. I'd like to thank the Strawberry Shortcake. I'd like to thank all the vendors involved, all the vendors, I said, all vendors that had booths at the 4th of July. Thank you for putting aside your time from your family to focus on the city of Jervis and to bring joy and even make a few dollars in your pocket as well. Thank you guys so much for continuing to have me and my Hubbard Community Plan Events Committee team come to your city. We always leave humble, we always leave happy. And it's really worth all the many hours that we put into your events. It doesn't go, I mean, we literally put 110% because we love your community as much as we hope that you would love our community, and you are always welcome to join forces with us in our community as well. Have a blessed day, and God bless everything that all you guys do as a community, and we'll be keeping you all in our prayers. Thanks.
Thanks, Rocky. Say one thing, I got to talk with Rocky's mother today and hear his history. Rocky has had some challenges that he has overcome, and I think he is just one of the most joyous people I have ever met. And with a man with disabilities, he just doesn't ever let that stop him in what he's doing. He does with his whole heart. And again, you know, overcoming those challenges, Rocky. Good for you, honey. Thank you. Anybody else? Not hearing anything. Any other public comment? Go ahead, Laura. You can come up again. I'm fine with that. Yeah.
My name is Laura Gutierrez. I live at 367 East Elm Drive, Jervis, Oregon. Sorry, it's my first time and I'm a little nervous and I'm new to everything. But I was wondering, how does all this great information get to our Spanish speaking?
Not very well.
Yeah, well, I offer myself to help start something or do something and help
I think
try
that's
to
great.
get this information to our families that who speak Spanish or primarily speak Spanish and,
You know, Laura, that's a wonderful idea.
yeah,
I like that.
thank you.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, moving on to public comment. I did change the agenda so that we could do our public hearings so that people didn't have to wait as long tonight. We haven't done a lot of these, so we'll start with A, vacation 2021-02 public alley vacation, block 68 of the Jervis plat bound on by 7th Street, 8th Street, Hemlock Avenue, and Ivy Avenue. I'm going to open that hearing. Susie, I need direction on that because we're going to just close it. Is that correct? I need to open it at 7:26 p.m.
Yes, we need to open it. I don't know, Holly, do you want to explain?
Sure, I'm happy to. Can the council hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. For the record, my name is Holly Byram, and I work for the Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments. My role is to serve as the contract city planner for the city of Jervis. So on the agenda this evening, the first public hearing scheduled was for an alley vacation. And that is a public hearing date that the city council set by motion on their June meeting. There are certain requirements for the type of public notice the city has to provide, and that includes publishing in the newspaper, mailing it to the neighbors, and then also posting signs on the site itself on the property. Staff hasn't been able to cover all those bases yet, and so it's not advisable to go through with the public hearing tonight. Instead, what's recommended is the city council by motion continue this public hearing to next month, which is Thursday, August 4th. And that way, anyone in attendance who is interested in participating in the alley vacation public hearing can come back at that time. So I believe the city council should have in front of them just a one-page that has a recommended motion on there.
Okay, the recommended motion to continue the public hearing for alley vacation petition file number VAC 2021-02 to the next regular meeting of Thursday, August 4th, 2022 at 7 p.m. at the Jervis City Hall. Can I have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing for alley vacation petition file number VAC 2021 through 02 to the next regular meeting of Thursday, August 4th, 2022 at 7 p.m. at the Jervis City Hall.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. Not hear anything, the ayes have it, and the motion carries. We'll continue at the next meeting. Go ahead, Jim.
Is the meeting?
Thank you.
I guess I need to close the meeting, don't I?
I do have a couple questions.
Okay. Is it okay to close it, Holly?
Yes, you can go ahead and close that.
Okay. The time is 7:29. The meeting's now, or the hearing is now closed. John, the floor is yours.
I guess my question will be for Holly. I'm wondering,
Yes, sir.
what is the general length of time that it would usually take to do a vacate like this? We've been through some other ones and it seemed like they were way quicker than this. And this one here, I think, has been going on since what, October, November of last year. And so I'm kind of curious as to what the length of time should be if there's no problems.
Sure. An alley vacation, the procedures are actually in the Oregon Revised Statutes rather than in the Jervis Development Code. And the ORS states that you have to have so many signatures on your petition before the city council can schedule a public hearing. And so what usually happens, we actually have 3 vacations in-house right now And this is the first one to get across the finish line to actually get scheduled. What usually happens is you'll have a property owner get their immediate neighbor signatures for that alley vacation. They'll give us the petition, and then we'll tell them all the remaining signatures they need to get. So the remaining signatures have to be 200 feet in either direction of that alley, and then from block to block, basically. So basically, they'll pay for staff time to print out those property owner names and addresses, and then they can go door to door and get those signatures. And so that's the step that takes the most time, is for that property owner to get the affected area signatures. It's difficult to do. Not all the houses are owner occupied, and sometimes they have to mail out a letter. So that's really what takes the longest amount of time, is the owner going door to door, getting the neighbor signatures.
And so what you're saying is this is a new thing. This isn't something that we did in the past. Because I
No,
know.
it's the same procedures we've had in the past few years. Sometimes the applications are more complete than others.
So on this one, we were waiting, just to clarify, we were waiting for them to get the signatures? Is that what happened to this one in particular? Can I ask that?
Oh, for this one in particular, the 1 month delay, the continuation today was simply to ensure that we get all the public noticing required.
Okay.
And that's staff's duty. Mhm.
But leading up to it, what took so long? Just them getting the signatures then? Because he said it started.
Yeah,
going on.
October, November, somewhere around.
Yeah, so the city council cannot, by
They cannot.
statute, schedule the public hearing until they have signatures of 100% of the abutting property owners and 2/3 of the affected area, which is that 200 feet in either direction, block to block.
So again, Holly, is that what we've been waiting for then? Just to clarify?
Leading up to June, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. John, do you have any other questions?
No.
Anybody else? Okay, that one was closed, so we're gonna move on to the next. Good evening, my name is Mayor. Do I read that first one or just what we're gonna do?
Yes, you can read that script, the public hearing
Okay.
script.
Good evening, my name is Annie Gillen. I'm the mayor in the city of Jervis, and I will be presiding over this hearing. This is the time and place set for the continued public hearing in the matter of 2 concurrent land use files, site development review number SDR 2021-02 and partition number PAR 2022-01 for a 2.32 acre property located on Winfield Street in Jervis. The hearing is now open. It is 7:33 p.m. Oregon land use laws require several items to be read into the record at the beginning of every public hearing. The city planner will review this material. Your patience is appreciated as she goes through these statements. Go ahead, Holly.
Okay, thank you. Bear with me here. The applicable substantive criteria upon which this case will be decided are found in the Jervis Development Code. The specific criteria are summarized in the staff report and will be reviewed in this public hearing. All testimony and evidence received during this public hearing must be directed toward these approval criteria or to such other rule, law, regulation, or policy which you believe to apply to this case. An issue which may be the basis for an appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals shall be raised no later than the close of the record at or following the final evidentiary hearing on this case. Such issues shall be raised with and accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford this body and the parties to this hearing an adequate opportunity to respond to each issue. This evening's public hearing will begin with the staff report and any other comments from governmental agencies that are in attendance, followed by all of those who are in support of the application. All of those opposed to the application will then be allowed to speak, followed by those with general comments who are neither for nor against the application. Finally, the applicant will be entitled to a rebuttal period, including any questions this body may have of staff or the applicant. All speakers should try to limit your comments to 3 minutes. Please submit a speaker card completed with your name, physical address, and mailing address directly to City Manager Susie Marston. Please try to avoid repetition. If someone else has already expressed the same thoughts, it's perfectly all right to state that you agree with the statements of that previous speaker. Please be assured that everyone will have an opportunity to speak. If you have documents, maps, or letters that you wish to have considered by this body, they must be formally placed in the record of this proceeding. To do that, either before or after you speak, please leave the material with City Manager Susie Marston, who will make sure your evidence is properly taken care of. If a request to continue this public hearing is made, it will be up to the City Council to determine if the hearing will be continued to a time and date certain, or if the record will be kept open for submission of additional evidence or testimony. If the record is kept open, it will be for a minimum of 7 days with a short rebuttal period thereafter afforded to the applicant.
Okay, with that out of the way, I need to ask the audience and the fellow counselors a few questions. 1, does any member of the audience have any objection to the notice that was just published? Anybody on Zoom? Not hearing any, I'll go to number 2. Does any member of the audience wish to challenge the jurisdiction of the City Council to hear this matter? Zoom?
Nope. Nope.
No, public, okay. Not hearing, we'll go to number 3. Does any member of the City Council wish to declare a potential actual conflict of interest or bias? Is that ex parte stuff or no?
That would be the next question.
Okay, on that one, I would like to say, I don't believe I have an actual conflict of interest or bias, but the company I work for does do business with the applicant. I have seen him a couple of times through our office, our front desk there. So just so we know, but I do not think I need to recuse myself. Everybody okay with that? Okay, so moving on. Does any member of City Council wish to report site visits or ex parte contacts? Okay, number 5, does any member of council or audience wish to challenge the impartiality or ex parte disclosures of any member of the City Council? Okay, moving on. City Planner Holly Byram, please give the staff report.
Okay. To confirm, Holly Byram with the Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments, Contract City Planner. So what the City Council has before them this evening is 2 different applications. In most cities, you would have a planning commission review land use applications. However, in Jervis, there is no current planning commission, so the City Council acts in that capacity. So this evening, the 2 applications are a site development review and a partition application. And these are submitted by Ivan Kam, and the owner on the property is Winfield LLC. I believe the property owner and his architect are there in attendance this evening. So what I will do is to give a staff report, and then you will hear from the applicant as well. I know the staff report was fairly lengthy, and I know that the criteria are very redundant between the different sections of code. It's hard to read. Believe me, it's hard to write. So what I'll try to do is to give a brief overview of it, and then if there are any issues that need to be discussed in further detail, we can drill down a little more. So big picture, what is being proposed? This is a 2.32 acre property, and it is the missing piece of Winfield Street. This is located north of the new Ivy Woods Estates and south of Lantana. What is being proposed by the applicant is that they continue that piece of Winfield Street so that it is connected on both the north and south side, and that the property is divided into two pieces. The parcel 1 is the larger parcel, which will be east of Winfield Street. That is proposed to be developed in two different two-story apartment buildings. One would have 12 units and one would have 16 units. And then on the west side of Winfield Street, the smaller parcel 2 would be developed with 2 fourplexes, so 8 units. Total, this full development would have 36 multifamily units, and this would be housing for Jervis residents. Also included on the site is a storage building, which would provide storage units for the residents of those multifamily units. A recreation area, which is required by your code. Landscaping, which is required. Parking for vehicles and bicycles. Stormwater detention areas. And garbage enclosures as well. So on that staff report on page 2, I've included a vicinity map and a zone map. And on page 3, I've included a image of what that partition would be. Again, a partition is a land division that results in 2 or 3 parcels. Anything more than 3 parcels is a subdivision. So parcel 1 is proposed to be 70,370 square feet. Parcel 2 is proposed to be 21,168 square feet. While we're looking at this map on page 3 of the staff report, I will point out that the right-of-way for Winfield Street south of the development is 55 feet wide, and north of development is 46 feet wide. And so the applicant is facing that challenge, and I think in partnership with the city engineer, we've come up with some solutions for that. On page 4 of the staff report is the full site plan. You'll see the 2 different 2-story apartment buildings, the storage units, and then across the street, the 2 different fourplexes. So there's a couple different sections of the Jervis Development Code that need to be considered when the City Council makes this decision. The first section is about the partition application, and then the second section is about the site development review. There are a lot of redundant standards between the two, so I'm going to breeze past the partition criteria here. Essentially, when you consider a partition, you need to ensure that the parcels you're creating are meeting the minimum size of the zone. In the R2 zone, you're required to have, for multifamily housing, which is what's proposed, 10,000 square feet for the first 4 units, plus an additional 2,500 square feet per each additional unit after the first 4. So for parcel 1, the minimum lot size would be 70,000 square feet. And for parcel 2, the minimum lot size would be 20,000 square feet. And both of those parcels are shown to be more than the minimum lot size required for the proposed land use. So that standard is met. Public facilities are discussed shortly. Let's see, your code requires a master plan for development when any property is large enough to be redivided, and that is provided with the site development review. All parcels the city creates must have access to a public right-of-way, and that is so that you don't landlock any properties. In this case, the parcels have full frontage along Winfield Street, and you'll see that the driveways are proposed to be perfectly aligned, taking access to those 2 private parking lots serving the apartment buildings. So the access standard is met. If this were just a partition application, the applicant would be required to construct full public improvements. That includes streets, curbs, gutters, sidewalks, water, sewer, stormwater, and then streetlights, fire hydrants if they're required. In this case, they're also required to do all of those things for the site development review. So those are explained in further detail here shortly. But just know if this were just a partition application, they would be required to provide all of those improvements as well. It is important to note that the Jervis Development Code, like most cities, requires that development pays for itself. And so that is why developers are required to provide all those improvements when they develop. Okay, so the site development review criteria starts on page 10 of the staff report. And a little bit of redundancy here, just diving into the R2 zone. The purpose of that zone is for the more higher density housing in your community. You'll remember that cities are obligated to provide approximately 20 years of your city's need for residential development. And that is to ensure that your community has the housing it needs. Multifamily dwellings are an outright permitted use. That means that no conditional use permit is required. And that also the accessory structure, the storage units, are also an outright permitted use. And they each have certain criteria they need to meet. The R2 zone has dimensional standards, and that's things like minimum lot size and setbacks and height limits. And in this case, all of those standards are met. I've included on page 11 of the staff report the full table for the setbacks there. On page 12 is where we start the development standards for the R2 zone. The first one to talk about is density. And in the R2 zone, multifamily housing is required to be developed at a minimum density of 12 units per acre. And there's no maximum density set because that is automatically limited by your minimum lot size. So your density and your lot size kind of work in tandem there to hit the right number of units. So for this 2.32 acre site, the development is proposing 36 units. The minimum density of 12 units per acre results in 28 units. So they are meeting that minimum density. I will note that no additional units could be added, however, because they are right at the minimum lot size for both parcel 1 and parcel 2. The next standard is about lot coverage, and that ensures that your buildings and your parking areas don't pave the entire site. There is a certain amount of area that's left, and that's typically working in tandem with your landscaping requirement and your stormwater detention areas. So the applicant can meet this with their revised site plans. All of your multifamily developments are required to provide a recreation area for its residents, and that is required to be 100 square feet per residential unit. In this case, with 36 units, the minimum area would be 3,600 square feet. The architect has designed that, and that will be confirmed prior to building permits. I will note that because there are two different parcels here, staff is recommending an easement granted by parcel 1 to parcel 2 to ensure that the residents in those fourplexes are able to enjoy that recreation area as well, unless a separate area is provided for them. At the top of page 13 is the landscaping standard, and that is required 15% for multifamily dwellings. And the applicant has provided a landscaping plan, and again, that will be confirmed prior to final building permits. Okay, page 13 is where we really start the general development standards. And this drills into what's required for the developer to be building. And The public facilities are available in Winfield Street, and there's also a utility easement that runs from the subject property over to Ivy. And so the applicant is showing connection to water, sewer, and storm. The city engineer and public works have reviewed this application and have provided comments. Additionally, Marion County Public Works has reviewed the application and provided comments. The reason for that being that Ivy is within Marion County jurisdiction. The applicant provided a transportation impact analysis, which is a TIA, and that analysis estimates how many trips are expected to be generated by the proposed development, which intersections could be impacted, how those intersections will continue to function with that additional traffic, and then how the streets will perform based upon their classification. Every street in a community has a classification and an expected number of cars it can carry without a failing level of service. In this case, the impacted streets and the intersections that were studied were found to be performing fine after full build out of the proposed development. And so that uses the year 2024 with no build and full build scenarios. And in both cases, the intersections and the streets continue to perform within their capacity at levels A or B, whereas C and below, or C and above is acceptable. What the TIA estimated at peak times, it would be, so for daily trips would be 306, or morning peak times would be 34, and PM peak times would be 36. And those were the numbers that were used based upon the ITE trip generation manual. So there were no concerns with the traffic impacts to any of the facilities studied there. And then no mitigation was recommended for any of those facilities either. In terms of off-street parking, so the development code assigns a certain number of parking spaces required by land use. For multifamily developments, you're required to provide at least 1.5 parking spaces per unit. So in this case, on parcel 1, 56 spaces were required and 56 are provided. On parcel 2, 16 are required and 16 are provided. So on both sides of Winfield Street, the developer is proposing to provide, to meet the standard for the parking. Okay, so now I'm on page 16 of the staff report. Bicycle parking is required. There is a standard for that as well. The applicant has shown bike parking on the plans, and that will be confirmed again prior to building permits. ADA parking spaces are required within that, and that is typically something checked by Marion County Building Department prior to building permit. Regarding stormwater drainage, the applicant did provide a storm drainage report, and that was reviewed by the city engineer. Generally, what's proposed is that there would be a couple different subbasins on this development. Stormwater would go to those stormwater detention ponds that you see, and then they would be released into the city's system at pre-storm rates. So the purpose of those detention ponds is to capture the stormwater and release it as you would see before the development. Okay, following that, there's a section in this part of the code about screening and buffering. There are requirements for screening and buffering when there are unlike land uses, say, for example, an industrial use next to a residential use. In this case, there's no trigger for screening or buffering between two different types of residential land use. However, if there are concerns about that, the developer has indicated that they are open to providing additional trees along one of the property boundaries if that's a concern. Okay. So right now I'm looking at page 18 of the staff report. One of the criteria here is that the city needs to consider any problems that may arise due to potential hazard areas. The application package included a geotechnical report, and a long story short, what the geotechnical report documented was that there was a layer of fill material that had been added to the site, and that report recommended that that fill material be removed. And so that recommendation was repeated by the city engineer and is also included as a condition of approval. Let's see. So on page 19 of the staff report is where you have the staff's recommendation to approve these concurrent applications subject to the recommended conditions of approval. And there's a fairly lengthy list of conditions. I'm going to run through them briefly. The first few are just generic conditions of approval that apply to both of these applications. And that is basically that the applicant is responsible for due diligence and the cost of the development, and that all the public improvements need to be developed to city standards and inspected and approved by the city engineer. Standard conditions of approval. There is a reference in here to the city engineer comments, which are attached. Conditions 5 through 9 apply specifically to the partition application. The reason we separate these is because if one or the other of the applications are not followed through with, we need them to be able to stand alone. So the partition conditions 5 through 9 refer to the partition. The applicant is required to submit a partition plat to record that partition at Marion County. And that plat is signed by the city only once all of the standards are satisfied. Typically with a partition or a subdivision, a developer would complete all of the required public improvements. So they would pave the streets and put in the sidewalks before the city will sign the plat. However, the development code also provides a path for the developer to guarantee the development or provide a deferral agreement, which would allow them to record the partition plat prior to completing all the public improvements. And that's something that can be discussed between the city engineer and the developer when we get closer to the partition plat in relation to mobilization for development of the site. Starting at condition number 10 is when you get into site development review conditions. This requires that the partition plat is recorded prior to building permits on either parcel 1 or parcel 2. It requires fire department approval, and we need to ensure that they sign off on things like the turnaround that's provided, the water pressure available, the hydrant spacing, the addressing, all of that. Public safety. So Jervis Police have been really good about thinking through public safety as it pertains to the site design and landscaping design. So the applicant is encouraged to speak with Jervis Police about their landscaping plan to ensure that it provides maximum public safety. There's recommended conditions in there about lot coverage, about the recreation area, that recreation area easement I mentioned. Just ensuring that the storage units meet the accessory structure standards, that the landscaping is met, the landscaping installation is guaranteed, that fill material is removed. And then there's a lot of standard language in here, starting at about condition 20, things like lot grading and utility easements. Those are checked. Streetlights would be to city standards. I spoke with the city engineer about this, and it looks like the closest streetlight is about 100 feet away, so it's reasonable to expect at least one streetlight on this stretch of Winfield Street at the standard spacing. Street signs, parking lot lighting, it's important that that's downcast and not impacting any other adjacent residential properties. vision clearance area is important for that driveway. Dumpster capacity is something that we talked about in the last multifamily project to ensure that that dumpster meets the needs of those buildings. Let's see, and then other standard language here. The approval would be effective for 1 year, and then extensions would be available. So, on page 22 of the staff report is where you have the recommended motion. However, I believe City Manager Susie Marston has a paper to hand out to the City Council. After the staff report was sent to the City Council, I had another discussion with the applicant and with the city engineer. And on this site, the goal is to retain the number of units provided while also providing efficient right-of-way for Winfield Street and meeting that minimum lot size. So in this case, the paper that Susie will hand you is a recommended motion that actually modifies condition of approval number 7. As it's written, condition of approval number 7 in the staff report states that a minimum right-of-way width of 55 feet shall be dedicated to City of Jervis. What that memo says is recommending something slightly different, and that is that the right-of-way width would be 50 feet plus 2.5-foot sidewalk easement on either side of Winfield Street right-of-way. And the reason for that is so that the city gets what it needs in terms of the public improvements and the street, and the developer is able to maintain their minimum lot size and the number of units provided to the community. And so I asked the City Council to look at the recommended motion at the bottom of that page. And that would approve both the site development review and the partition, subject to the recommended conditions and findings, with this revision that a condition of approval number 7 would be revised from 55 feet width to 50 feet plus 2.5-foot sidewalk easement on either side. I know it's a lot of information. Attached to the staff report, I've included the comments I received from the city engineer and from Woodburn Fire. And then Exhibit B is the full application package from the applicant. It's a lot of information. I can take questions now, or the City Council can hear the applicant's presentation and take public testimony, and then we can take questions later, whichever you prefer.
Council, what would you prefer? Yeah, we'll move forward with his testimony. Junior, you all right with that? All right.
Hi, my name is Matthew Johnson. I'm the architect with Studio 3 Architecture. And I put the original site plan together and then had help from Udell Engineering in Lebanon. I believe Brian Vendetta, who's will be the engineer of record, is logged in on Zoom if you have any questions that pertain to him. Thanks, Holly, for doing the staff report. It's kind of weird not being able to see her, but I think you covered everything that I would. Ivan, the owner, purchased this lot, and obviously we needed to extend Winfield Street through, which left us 2 portions to develop for multifamily housing, which is the direction he's gone as a developer the last few years. And what Holly presented is the solution that we came up with that meets the Jervis Development Code the best. And we're happy to answer any questions you guys have about the buildings or the site layout, or anything else that comes up this evening.
Hey, did you have questions?
So, yeah, I just have some questions, and then maybe for you or maybe for Holly, I don't know. So for these units, I see the number of units. What is the
The unit mix.
Yeah,
So right now, the plan is to have, so in building A, there would be one bedroom, or excuse me, 2 1-bedroom units, 8 2-bedroom units, and 2 3-bedroom units. In building B, there would be 2 1-bedroom units, 6, no, excuse me, 12, sorry, I'm having to double in my head, 12 2-bedroom units and 1 3-bedroom unit.
And what about the fourplexes?
And the fourplexes would be all 2-bedroom units.
Anybody else have any questions?
Nobody
Oh,
else?
go ahead.
So, so I'm looking at the stormwater, and this may be a John question too, for, looking at the bigger apartment units. I know that we ended up having to fence the other one in Ivy Woods. Is this going to end up with the same kind of issues?
Well, that's my question. Since this is private property, will maintenance and care be responsibility of the property owner for that retention pond?
It would be.
Okay.
So you're putting a new retention pond out there?
Yeah, there would be one on site. If you have questions specific to that, I would suggest that I allow Brian to answer those, because I just drop a box and he figures out how to get the water to go where it needs to go.
It's just the maintenance part.
Sure.
As long as it's the property owner, and it's not the city's responsibility.
Yeah, those ones would be private and on private property.
Okay. And so then, I guess, in Ivy Woods, we were concerned about the depth of the water and it being a safety issue with children. And we fenced in that retention pond over there for safety.
Oh,
So is that something that we can look at doing in this area as well, to just, because, I mean, we know Jervis, this is gonna be full of kids. And the last thing I want is some kid to fall into the retention pond or think it's a great playground because it's right next to the recreation area. So,
Sure. So the way that would land in building code dictated terms would be that if there's a drop of more than 30 inches from the ground level that you're standing on to the bottom of the basin, then a 42-inch guardrail would be required. So far, the design of those detention ponds are preliminary to make sure that there's enough capacity to handle the stormwater. But once we determine those grades, and even if it doesn't meet the code threshold, we could definitely consider that, sure, especially the one next to the recreation area.
yeah, that's the one I'm most concerned with. I mean, the one on the fourplex side, it's gonna be less tempting, I guess, and I would imagine there's just gonna be less water and whatnot. But yeah, I know our kids here, so I can see that being an issue.
Sure, and so, yeah, we would look at that obviously from a code perspective.
Right.
But then that's something that I can discuss with the owner and make sure that he's on the same page, because obviously everybody's on the same page, and nobody wants to have people getting hurt for both liability and just ethical reasons.
Okay,
Anything else?
that's it for now, I think.
Anybody else have any questions?
I'll get a good job.
I thought it was very well planned.
Great, thank you.
Nice. Pardon? I gotta see. We'll get there. So Holly, is it time for public to talk? Or did we already have that? It is? Okay, yeah, I guess come forward and say your name and address.
Which one is that?
No, I. I'm lost.
So we had these proponents. just
Yeah.
spoke. Next
Yeah.
one to me is opponent, somebody that's.
Yeah, so
against.
are you an opponent to it? You're opposed to it?
No,
Okay, well, we're asking for opposers.
clarify that, I'll sit back down.
Thank you. cost them space.
You need to ask if there are any proponents.
Yeah, are there anybody that's opposed to it? Okay, not hearing any. Too much paperwork. No, it really is.
So on page 2, it says, I will now accept public testimony regarding this case. The first question, would the applicant or the representative like to speak? The applicant spoke. The next bullet, is there anyone who would like to speak in support of the application? And I think that's where Brian.
Okay, come on up, Ryan.
Hello again, it's Brian Wagner, Mickey Wagner's husband, who owns 60 Stillwater Drive. Definitely for more housing, more kids, more fun in the place. But a couple things I'd like to have people consider when they look at this. We've had the problem before, we've heard about it. They're only allowing 1.5 spots for parking. This city, there is a fight on every street for parking spots. Now we know it's got especially worse, especially when we had to go to one-sided, block everything off. My question is, the road leading in, I'm hearing the easement's only gonna be 50 feet now. So that tells me that there's gonna be one-sided parking again. Do we really think that's enough parking for all those units? Because it's gonna be a problem again. That's all I want people to consider is the parking for all the people, because Jervis is not a 1.5 car family. You know, have we ever actually considered possibly, I hate to say it, but putting something out there to limit the amount of vehicles a house can have?
We've done that before.
We've talked about it before, it just didn't go anywhere. All right, but I mean, that's the one thing to consider is think
No,
about
on a
this.
different plan. I'm not sure which one, but we did talk about that we would want them to do that.
Yeah, I know.
And that was up to the
over.
owner to establish that, I believe.
Yeah, that's a real concern, because
Mhm.
parking is unbearable as it is right now. And that many people in that small place, I don't think it's gonna be very pretty.
Well, it is a rental unit, so he could probably, I would like to ask if maybe if he could limit how many, is that what you want? To see if he was limited. Well, I'll ask council if they want to ask that.
I think it's a good idea. We have enough problems with parking as it is.
But we just want to make sure the fire department can get through. I mean, no matter what, that's the biggest thing.
Well, that goes in his report too. He would consider all that. Just saying, but yeah, thank you for your input. Anybody else?
That should have fell under the opponents, not the-
I did too.
I'm not opposed to it.
Okay. Anyway, so one of you would like it that asked, anybody else? Laura? Are you opposed to it or for it?
Neither nor.
Okay,
And then just got a comment.
okay, go ahead.
Laura Clifton, 1065 6th Street, Jervis, Oregon. Just wondering how the water situation that we've been talking about ties into this. Because they kind of talked about having a bigger pipe, if you're gonna do growth, to feed it. How would that work?
They would perform fire flow tests on all the hydrants around the proposed development. If it meets the fire department standards, then they can go ahead and build.
I'm wondering about like their drinking water, that's covering the fire department.
Well,
thing.
drinking water is all part of the same system. Fire
I'm
is
just-
different.
So do we have enough water retention? I mean, we have enough that we're not at capacity that we can do this project? Is that your question, Laura?
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
It's not gonna affect the rest of us, is what?
No.
Okay.
That was a big question.
So, we have the other one on the floor. I'd like to ask anyone that. I got Nikki said yes, I didn't hear from anyone else.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
About the parking, if he would like to limit his tenants' parking.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we can suggest that. I'm not sure exactly how that worked on the last one when we did that, what the wording was.
We never finished it through yet, but it was something we were gonna have them consider.
Never came back.
Yeah, we haven't heard, so that was one of the things we wanted to do. But, you know, you've got a couple of them that are just one bedroom, so quite a few of them. So it's a little bit smaller unit in my mind. One-sided parking. you're not in a housing development either, you're in apartments. You're in a smaller thing, you don't have like rows of houses. This is a much smaller thing. That's my thoughts.
Go ahead. I do have a question in regards to the parking for these. Are they going to be assigned parking spots? Do you know? Is that something that you've spoken about? Because that could potentially make a little bit of a difference, but I do see it spilling out.
Sure,
to
and
the
I apologize if I'm supposed to be in the rebuttal portion, but oh, it's fine. But yes, they will be assigned. And also in Holly's staff report, the ratio for 1.5 parking stalls per dwelling unit is kind of a funny word for it, because a dwelling unit is different for a 1, 2, or 3 bedroom. So we actually have 2 parking stalls per apartment unit. So on the west side of Winfield, we're proposing 16, which would be 2 per unit for all 8 units. And then on the east side, we have 56, which is also 2 per apartment unit. So I hope that clarifies a little, Brian.
I had read it, that's why I guess I wasn't able to, I wasn't thinking fast enough to answer, but I had read that in our packet.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Arcadia?
So yeah, I do have a question about the parking then, because even if it's a 1-bedroom apartment, what if that person is a business owner and he has multiple company vehicles that he's using? I'm thinking that on my standpoint, you know, as I'm a business owner, so is my father. We have multiple vehicles that we use for different occasions. And if you're fighting over 2 parking spots to fit your 3 or 4 vehicles in there, that's gonna be kind of tough.
Yeah, and he did say assign spots, so I'm thinking that maybe the owner isn't gonna allow because he's assigning the number of spots. And also with, I don't know, I seen a place the other day, I was thinking about, just go of my top right there, there's like all these overs and they've got all this equipment out there like a business, and I'm thinking, I don't know if that's something we should be doing. But anyway, just a thought. Go ahead, Rocky.
My other question, this is directed to the developer in the thing. Are you guys gonna open the maintenance up to the locals to give them an opportunity to bid on the landscape, to create jobs in the Jervis community, to work with them, or as business owners to have an opportunity to do the work in Jervis and keep it Jervis and keep it local? Or is that gonna be an option, or are you bringing your home crew with you to do the landscape?
They're not that far yet, Rocky. He's trying to just get in the door. And there's a lot of locals that get used. So, rebuttal, please. Any rebuttal?
I guess the portion I should have clarified the parking. There, I guess I don't really have that many questions other than over the mic, Rocky's question that a landscaper hasn't been selected yet. I will say that Ivan, the developer, is a local himself, and has been, I met him through projects that he was actually a framing subcontractor on over the years. And he's now taking on the overall development of apartment projects. So I do think that a lot of the work and economic outpouring that's going into this project is coming from Jervis and right back into Jervis. Were there any other questions that you guys had for me to address?
No.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Right, you're on. I don't know if there's a page in there. Right now, you're ready to go to staff somewhere.
Oh, well, I think I'm missing a page.
We're just looking at the regular agenda.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
But you have.
Staff summary, yeah, but I was missing that page out of it. That's why I kept looking the other way. Staff summary, Holly Byram. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think I just have two follow-up clarifications regarding the question about parking on Winfield Street. The project engineer is online here, but my understanding is that with the 50-foot right-of-way plus the easements on either side, there would be sufficient room for parking on both sides of the street for the majority of this 200-foot length of Winfield. Also, the question about the water system. When I was talking with the city engineer earlier today, he said that this project would really benefit the city's water system in terms of redundancy and looping of the water lines. So that would be a benefit to some neighborhoods, especially the neighborhood north of this project. And then regarding the question about fencing around the stormwater detention ponds, that could absolutely be added as a condition of approval. That is not unreasonable for ensuring the safety of your community.
Do I need to make that motion before we close the hearing?
If that is all the public testimony, you can close the public hearing and then you would have your city council deliberation, and that's when you would be open to motions.
Okay, Mickey Wagner has something.
I just have a question, Holly. So with the recommended motion, if we want to have that put in there about the fencing, do we need to change this motion then? Okay.
Yeah, so you would just add that to the end of the motion. I know it gets lengthy, but it's important that it's all there in the minutes so we know the direction of the city council.
And Susie, how would that be worded?
You could read the motion as Holly has written it under the recommended motion, and at the end, and adding adding an additional condition of approval for the applicant or developer, I don't know what the appropriate word would be, to fence around the retention pond on the parcel with the apartment complexes.
I'll write that fast in. In addition, and adding an additional condition and an additional condition.
Either side of the deal.
Either side.
And, hang on. And adding an additional condition to fence around
Retention pond.
the retention pond
And that,
on the parcel containing the apartments.
okay, but there was two, and we had just been concerned about one, so should we be more specific about the one?
Near the recreation.
Nearest the recreation area, is that? Instead, okay, nearest the recreation, because that could be perceived different. I guess I'll write that. And then close the hearing, right? Time is 8:24. Hearing is closed. Time for council discussion. Does council have any discussion? I like the idea of getting more houses. I'll start. I like the idea of them having their own recreation areas, so we don't have the parks issue that we had. Something like that going on. I thought it was well put together, everybody. Very well presented, so thank you. Anybody else?
Well, I had a question for the chief, but he's walking out. So have you, from my understanding on here, you have not had a chance to look at this, so you don't have any comments on public safety in the apartment complex.
I have reviewed it.
You have reviewed it, and are you okay with the amount of open space and whatnot?
Yeah, the landscaping, the lighting is kind of a critical component. It's Septet, crime prevention for violent design, and And we'll work with Ivan once he
Okay,
gets to that point
okay,
to look at that.
perfect. Just wanna double check on that.
Anybody else? Junior, John? Okay. Not hearing any more discussion. Can we get a motion from the council that we just wrote?
We'll give this a shot. So I make a motion to approve concurrent site development review file number SDR 2021-02 and partition file number PAR 2022-01 and adopt the findings and recommended conditions of approval contained in the staff report to the city council with with a revision to condition of approval number 7 as provided in the staff memo dated July 7th, 2022, reducing the minimum right-of-way width from 55 feet to 50 feet, plus a 2.5-foot sidewalk easement on either side of Winfield, and adding an additional condition to fence around the retention pond nearest the recreation area.
The parcel continuing years.
On the parcel nearest the recreation area.
Okay,
Does that work?
right. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call on that. Councilman Harvey,
Yes.
Councilman Barge.
Aye.
Councilman Wagner.
Aye.
Councilor Gonzalez.
Aye.
The ayes have it and the motion carries. Well done. Anything else on that? Okay, thank you, Mr. Ken, for coming. Gotcha.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Coming to our city and developing. Look forward to going up. Thank you. Okay,
Mayor,
now we- Hello, I'm sorry.
just to confirm next steps, notice of decision will be mailed to the applicant and all members of the public who commented this evening. And that will give you an appeal period. So if anyone is interested in appealing, they can do so following those instructions. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Holly. Have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you, Brian. Yeah, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so we're gonna back up now and go to our consent calendar. We're gonna go to the minutes of the June 2nd, 2022 regular session. John, you have the floor.
I got a problem with the June 2nd. Meeting minutes. I don't believe that we have maybe even half of what occurred here that night. So I would like to have those redone with everything that did go on here. The way it was. There's a lot of things that were left out in that, a lot of things. So I don't believe those minutes even come close. We need to redo them.
They just need to be scratched. I have reply from the mayor is gone, reply from council, reply from Councilman Harvey. Also, I don't care for this in summation, the deliberations. I feel that's more of an opinion and that has no place here. Also, the city manager part in the end where she says from her heart is missing. It's just incomplete all the way through. And with the things that did go on, and the fact that this group is waiting for this minutes, and you address that to them on the post as the council president, which we'll talk about later. I want to give a complete list. I think it's very crucial that it be done thoroughly and maybe even verbatim. Sorry, but with what happened and what's being, the climate out there, the audio is online. Everybody can listen to it. It's verbatim. You can hear it well, but even like the FU going out the door, me saying the B word is missing. And it's public record. Put it in, please. Another thing is, what was that thing that was requested?
Some background,
Yeah.
background noise that was on there that was,
Check.
had nothing to do with public comment whatsoever. That was requested by 2 council members. And I really don't understand why that was even put out. Susie, can you explain that? Why would you put that out when it wasn't even at the microphone? It was just people talking in the background. Why would that be part of anything?
I'm not sure I know what you're referring to. People talking. in the
Well, you
chat
actually,
chat.
well, Diana and Mickey both requested some information and it came off of Zoom.
And we came into quorum to receive it.
There's nothing to do.
Two sessions ago. If I'm not mistaken, because the Zoom was turned off last session.
No, it was from the June 2nd, or from the
Okay,
upheaval.
okay.
It was Kristen Wells and So Good, I believe, Heather Lagasso chatting in the background. And we were sent that via email, now making it public record as per the OPML law, because we were in quorum when we get sent to it, when you requested it. Go ahead, John.
My question is for Nikki and Diana. Why did you request that? What was
Because-
that, what good was that going to do?
I had no idea what was up there. I couldn't see what was going on. And so if they, as a open chat like that, it was basically somebody speaking up, and just like if Brian was to start talking
I
right now.
didn't
I
address
can't.
them.
That's okay, but for him to speak up, he has to come up here to this microphone and ask for
But
the
if
time to
he's-
speak. Anything that's said up there is just dribble. It should not be put out for any reason other than I can see as to belittle somebody.
Yes.
That's what
I
believe
honestly
it was
had no
used for.
idea what was up
So-
there. I had no idea what was up there.
Okay, points across, Susie. Go ahead.
So because of that, that's why we've shut chat off on the public meetings, because anybody participating on Zoom can raise their hand and speak just like anybody here in the audience, and that way it doesn't get missed. So that's why we've got Zoom or chat shut off on Zoom. But yes, in that particular instance, Diana and Nikki both asked for that because it is part of public record. It was part of the meeting. They couldn't see. I provided them the copy, and since I provided them the copy, I felt that the copy needed to be.
Well, we
provided
asked for the copy to
everybody
come
else.
to all of us,
Yeah.
and the names that asked for it.
It wasn't put out first that way. It was put out that there was two council people. It wasn't put out that
Who they
it
were.
was, and it wasn't put out that. It was put out, but it didn't say who it was. And that should have been done at the first time. It came back later after it was requested and did that. But
It's a matter of
I just
record.
don't understand why you would have thought that that was a good idea to let that go out, because it shouldn't have been out there. What you have just said shouldn't have been put out there, so you shut on.
Okay, I'm not gonna spend a whole lot more time, but Council Wagner, you got 2 minutes on it?
I just have one question. So this is a public meeting, correct?
Mhm.
So if those people are on Zoom, I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't see any hands going up.
Okay,
Also, the chat's turned off, so if they do want to make a comment or they do raise their hand, how are we knowing that if their chat's shut off? We're basically shutting them out by not allowing them to do that. We don't need to see the chat as long as you guys can, but how do we know that those people are? I mean,
there's a hand raised, and then I would need to address it, just like I do these guys. Anybody can come up at any time. I can, as the presiding officer, I can allow it. John, you have the floor.
Mickey, you make a good point. I like that. That's why, Susie, in the past, I requested from you to get an IT person out here to go over that Zoom with all of us. So we know what can be done with that. I haven't heard back from you yet, so I guess you're probably still looking into it. But I would like to have an IT person come in here and explain just exactly what we can do with that. There's no reason why we can't have a symbol up there. If somebody, somehow it'll show up that they want to talk.
Right, there is a symbol, there is a function that every user on the Zoom can use to put their hand up. And as the mayor just stated, she can watch for the hand raise. And tonight, she did a good job during public comment, allowing time specifically for the people on Zoom before she moved to the audience.
That's the first one.
There is a
There's one
hand.
missing there right now, right. So when that comes up, then that's fine. That allows them to speak. That's why that other thing about the background dribble should never have been put out.
It shouldn't have been released, and
No,
it should be in
no, it
minutes,
shouldn't, because nobody raised their hand. They were just talking.
public packet.
That's-
Okay, is that a hand up there? Or is that just a loose?
Somebody's
Wait.
showing you an example. I believe.
Okay, so
Yeah, I'm just wondering, so what, are we making a motion to accept the minutes or not?
I won't sign it.
So I don't believe those minutes are reflective of what was, that occurred here that night. Yeah, the second. So I would suggest that we go back and look at them again and put the minutes in there that should reflect what actually happened here.
May I say something?
Sure.
Mayor and council, the minutes are only as good, and I've done numerous research on minutes, and they're very direct in saying, and all of the books that I've checked out and educated myself on, the minutes can only be as good as the communication between the chairperson and the minute taker. And I have asked several times for Councilor Harvey and for Mayor Gillen to come to my office if you have an issue with minutes and to tell me and communicate that with me. In my office, I'm not finished. Could I please finish? Could I please finish? I would like to finish without being interrupted, please. So it would be great if you could come visit me. I have welcomed you and I welcome the constructive criticism and I respect your position. That meeting was so hard to type up. And I did everything that I could to get it right. That's fine. I received your constructive criticism. However, if I could please ask the council to consider a motion to approve the minutes as is, and then you come visit me. Let's talk about what you'd like in those minutes, and I'll add them to the next set so that I can move forward with my job. This is a lot going on here. There's a lot of contention, and it could be avoided with more communication with you in my office, please.
Okay. Are you done now?
I am.
Okay. Is this not recorded?
It is.
Is everything we do in here right now recorded?
Yes.
Can you not refer to that recording to get what you need to give us the minutes that we want?
I do that. And it's also been taught to me that minutes are not supposed to be verbatim. I'm supposed to capture the objective. The objective, there was no objective happening that night. It was a lot of arguing. There was no objectives. There was no council action happening.
Exactly. But the things that went on here were very important. Everything was said in here. And I'm not saying you got to put every single word in there, but we need to have what went on here that night and what everybody said, not just a few people.
Not just theirs.
Okay, so I hear you very clearly. May I respond? With all due respect, I hear you. Would you like for me to put, if you approve this session as is, this council, this consent calendar, can I then put your responses in the next set of minutes if that's what you would like to see addressed? Would that be okay procedurally?
Myself, I'd like to go back and get the right minutes put in here.
So you want an argument taking place across pages? I already have 12 pages versus Tim Ryan's, your previous city recorder did 2 pages of minutes. I've got 12 pages of minutes for you guys, and you want me to go back and redo all of that.
Okay. Can I
Did he
say
have the
something?
public comment that came in here that night?
Pardon me?
Did he ever have the public comment that came in here that night?
I don't know.
What was his action? There was many people that
Oh,
showed
no.
up.
Oh, no, he
He never had that kind of
he's never had
interaction.
anything like this. No.
Yeah, no kind of interaction like that. Sorry that
There was
happened,
lots of
but
discussion that he
Dude,
could write in this minute.
All due respect to you. I
Thank
know
you.
you have a difficult job.
I
I'll tell you
do.
that. I agree. But you know what? The problems that we're having, we've had minutes missing before. I've asked you to get them put back in, which you did do. You sent out a letter. And that was fine, but we've been missing minutes actually since you started.
Okay, so I'm gonna.
So, if you want the examples, we can probably find plenty of them. And I'm not saying that to belittle you in any way. I'm just saying that I need more minutes in there. I want things on record.
Okay,
So that's what I'm asking you to do.
and I'm
And
gonna.
I'm hoping that
I would like to respond to you if I could, and the whole council. I am not offended. This is my job. I'm not offended by you one bit. I will go in and I will do my job. However, I have a boss that you appointed, and she has taught me, and I have gone above and beyond my job duty, and I have continued my education in this field. I've taken it upon myself to go research on how to do minutes. And again, I will say, I've had no communication from either of you until we are in a public meeting. This could all be avoided
This is
If you
our
come
time
visit
to
me.
meet.
Pardon me?
I work 40 hours a week,
So do I, Annie.
and the last week that I had, I even had thought, I haven't had the time to reach out. You know, I'm doing this job as best I can,
And so am I.
and this is our time as a council to address issues that we're having.
And I
It's not
appreciate
meant
that.
to embarrass you, it's not meant to, it's meant to, this
No.
is our time,
I'm not
meet.
embarrassed. I'm not
okay?
embarrassed.
That this is
However,
our time to meet.
That's fantastic. However, the minutes can only be as good as the chairperson allows. That's a communication fee. You are not communicating with me beforehand. All I am asking is for the council to please consider making a motion to pass this consent calendar as is, and I will put what you want in the minutes next round. It's very simple. That's what I'm asking from the council tonight.
I don't like them being released on this particular incident. I do not want them released. As our council president told the group, it would be as soon as it's okay, only to read the way it is. Would this go on our website as okayed right now?
Yes, it would, if you approve the consent calendar, and then the following minutes, when you read them, and it has your portion of, this is what I'm assuming, your portion of the arguments in there, then you would then see that set of minutes. And then moving forward, I would like that to see, to be procedurally, unless there's something specific that you want changed in the wording, as you have once wanted, Councilor Harvey, and I did that for you. I do
Well-
not see this being, it doesn't have to be contentious.
It's not contentious.
I am not offended. I am asking for a procedure to move forward. That's
I'm
what
doing the
asking.
same as you. I'm asking for something from you.
And
And I actually
appreciate
am,
that.
I'm saying it myself. The rest of the minutes on the March 3rd, 7th, the work session, the rest of them, I can approve. First
Okay.
one, I'm not for.
So-
I'm only one person here.
So
If
I'm
they
asking for the
approve them-
council to give it a motion to accept the consent calendar, and I will add what you need in the next set. That's what I'm asking for.
If they want to make a motion, this council is free to do so. I am going to caution that if it comes out that I get attacked again and cherry pick the minutes that are really incomplete and so one-sided the way they read, they make me look like I was arguing. It makes me look like they weren't up here saying, fuck you out the door. And I don't care, just heard that. That is what was said to me. So, just a moment, Susie. So, if that happens, I'm going to be angry and I'm going to the state.
So do what you want, council. Can I have a question? So is there a way, because we've done this before with other mayors, where it is accepted as is with the fact that there will be, there'll be amended, and those will come out with the August minutes. So, but these minutes are not released until after.
just said they were.
So
After their.
not until after they're approved. No, I didn't say that. I said till after they're approved. Please don't put words in my
Well, I
mouth.
thought you said approve these and then you would add to the next one. That's what you said.
No, actually, what I'm asking, notice what I'm asking is if you as a council would please make a motion to approve these minutes as is. They are directly input. I put them in. I just did not put in the council arguing with each other and arguing with public comment. That's what I did not put in.
Actually, if
I
you
put
listen
in
to
as a whole that you guys were deliberating, and in summation, that is what you were doing, and it was heated.
Excuse me, did you listen to the audio? The
Yes,
first
over
speaker?
and over and
So did
over
many
again.
people in the community. That's not how we see it. Is that how you guys seen it?
This
I would like to ask what specifically you guys would like to see added to the minutes.
Oh,
What specifically has been left out?
well, for one, you're from your heart speech where you had other job offers, but you're only staying here for your staff, and Councilman Harvey asking, okay, that's nice, but what about the citizens? That needs to be put in. My reply to the first speaker,
There was also a comment by Kathy Harvey that we were talking about the cars being marked that was left out. That was left out of there, I don't know. There's just a lot of things.
I don't see that I actually summed that up.
It's in here that she was talking about some other stuff. So anyway,
But would you like to come visit with me? Because I can actually point out where I included that in a paragraph as an objective.
Okay,
So the way I've trained Denise and also Tim, our previous city reporter, when they're doing minutes, and Denise has done a phenomenal job of educating herself, checking out folks, learning about how to take minutes, networking with other reporters, her peers. The way I have taught them is when you're taking minutes, listen for the key points. Think of it as you're 10 years down the road. You know, what is going to matter in 10 years? The fact that, I mean, there was a lot of arguing and deliberations, and I'll be frank, the last year and a half have been difficult. And for a person to listen back to the playback and try to take minutes, even if you're even asking for word, it's very difficult because there's lots of interruptions, there's talking over people. It's very difficult to pick up the key points in all of that. And so what she has done here is she is trying to pick out to align what I've been trained her to do. I mean, she is right. She's got 12 pages. We ran the transcript of the Zoom and it's what, 172 pages?
Yes.
I mean, it's very, very difficult on the playback to pick up. And she is being objective. I don't believe it is one-sided. And minutes don't have to be word for word, as I've said before. They can be action minutes. I mean,
I refer
And there's
back to them a
always-
lot.
there's always the audio too, to go back and listen to that people can request.
Well, she asked what else we want to put in. On the judge, he actually said, and it was missed, he said we can do better than that after he said the arguing on Facebook that these people, this arguing about on Facebook, basically. He said we could do better than that. That was left out.
Well, and it's hard.
Well, it was a pretty impactful statement.
But maybe not to Denise as the minute taker.
Well,
You know, in the
to
meetings.
the hate group, and I will say that I'm female.
In the meetings, maybe if you would specify when you speak, if you're making an important point, if when you speak, you let her know, I would like for this to be in the minutes.
I can do that. I just, I'd like those things in there.
Can you repeat that again, Mary?
I'd like you to go back on the judge's comments. He said that we can do better than that. He said that after the arguing about Facebook posts. Go ahead.
looking at it. Now, tell me again, there was how many pages total? And this,
172 pages of
Done.
transcripts
June 2nd, 22,
of the transcript that Zoom provides.
right. But for that meeting, that's what I'm talking about. And we got a total of how many?
I believe there's 11 pages in here.
So by looking at that percentage, the total amount of the 12 pages of that amount seems like a very small amount compared to that big.
Well,
one.
this is all single spaced, you know, the formatting is way different.
Yeah.
So the transcript is one line, one sentence per.
Don't
And
get me
every
wrong,
interruption.
I don't like a lot of extra paper. I just like it to be more accurate than what I think I'm getting. That's-
Okay, well, I
that's my
think what
point.
Denise is asking is just moving forward, if you could be more specific about what you would like to have in the minutes. Because her job as city reporter, she can't pick up everything that is said. You know, she is using her own judgment based on how I've trained her and based on models that she used from years past, even minutes I did as city reporter. You know, she's doing the best she can with what she has. And communication is a big key, a big part of it too.
So would it help if I call you when I get my packet and say, you know what, you missed this and that? Would you like that? or where am I supposed to address this? I believe the city council meeting is the time that we come to meet and address to approve or not approve and have a discussion about this very thing.
Do you want me to answer the question?
Sure.
First house? Okay, to answer that question, I would love communication with you, Mayor Dillon. I've asked you plenty of times. I think communication is key for you and me, and especially Susie. Yes, I do
Okay.
believe that that is necessary.
All right, on the communication thing, since we're there, I went in there and I'm talking to you gals, you and Abby. Let's just bring this to the thing. And I talk about, I got a merit raise, a 6.5%,
I didn't even hear you say
and
anything
out of
about
8.
that.
Okay, but then it gets thrown in my face later. So, you know, I have a trouble with communication when I'm thinking, wow,
Mayor, we could sit here and do that and argue, but there's plenty of things that you have done in public, in these public meetings to not make your staff feel very good. We have felt diminished several times, and forgive me, I'm probably gonna get reprimanded. But it has been, I have never in my life, and I've experienced a lot of pain, I've never in my life come to a place of work where I've experienced this. And I mean this. I have never.
are you pointing at myself?
I'm
or John
pointing
Hardy?
at you and I'm pointing
Listen,
at Councilor
listen.
Hardy.
We need to stay on track.
You know, I'll run my meeting, okay? I mean, I am the mayor, and I've never been so disrespected. And if you wanted to talk to me about this, Denise, I've been in here before. You could have pulled me aside and talked to me.
I've taken you aside, couldn't.
And you said communication, but you know, there's a problem with that too. We are the oversight for Miss Marsden, not for you indirect, not
We are
directly.
people among people. You are no better than us. We are your staff.
Nobody said anything like that, ma'am. I have a place. I was told the first week I was here, I could not talk to you, and I have an email to the effect, without going through Miss Marsden.
I asked if I could have the opportunity to approach the mayor and council before this meeting. I asked permission because that was a hard meeting minutes to write, and I had a feeling that you guys were gonna come to me.
Okay, I'm sorry if this is miscommunication, but I have been going by the rule I was set forth by Miss Marsden as our rule. And you literally told me I could not talk to the staff without your presence. It's in an email. I've never had that changed. If there was a difference where I could, I've never felt like I can come and just talk to you about that. And I do intermittently come in, and that's a fact. So I'm a rule follower.
Well, we're getting off track. I think we need to get back to
Yeah,
the
we do,
discussion on the
but-
minutes.
The minutes, I don't care for them the way they are.
I don't either. I think there's a lot was left out, and I'd like to have them redone. I'm willing to go with the rest of the workstation and all that other stuff. I'm willing to approve that right now. That's fine. The first one, number 8. I'm not for it. It's not accurate. It's just not accurate. I want accuracy.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve the minutes as is with the stipulation that we will have the corrections or additions to the minutes put into our packet. But to make it even better, send a copy to Mayor Gillen and Councilor Harvey so that they can go over it.
I don't want to release to the public until it's done.
I said to you and to him.
So Mickey, for clarification, are you asking for Denise to capture the revisions in what will be the July 7th council meeting minutes, or go back and revise these, given the specific language that was provided tonight, showing revised minutes for June 2nd?
To the June 2nd meeting and revise them. And try to bring back as much information with those corrections. Maybe the mayor can meet with you and give you her people or her information that she has on the names of the people who spoke and the ones that she has the corrections on.
So your motion is to revise these minutes.
Yes, John asked. Councilman Harvey asked for that same thing. Exactly.
I understand that. I just was asking for the council to consider accepting it the way it was and adding what you needed in the next set. It was very simple. Simple request.
Now that I know, can I talk to her when I need to? Is that okay? Because you had said specifically, I'm talking to Ms. Marshall. No, I need clarification.
Do they want to finish?
I will second the motion.
Now, discussion. I had the question, and I feel like you shouldn't override me. I am the presiding officer. It happens a lot. You know, you guys just gave your homily of what happened. Level of disrespect is terrible. Can I speak to her when I need to about things, or do I have to come through you?
You can speak to Denise.
Well, thank you. And that I will. Okay. So we had a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Okay, roll call on that. Oh, go ahead.
I'd like to hear the motion.
I don't remember verbatim what I
I'm gonna
said.
have to listen carefully to that motion.
All right, so the motion that I made was to accept the minutes from June 2nd as is, with the stipulation that they will go back and make the revisions that you and the mayor have asked for with the information, and that information will be emailed to you and the mayor so that you can put your signature or approval on it, and then those will be added to the August minutes.
Thank you.
They'll actually be emailed to everybody.
Oh, it will be everybody, okay. Great.
And they won't be posted until they're corrected. Is that right?
Diana said,
And I second that.
Okay, roll call on that. Councilman Harvey.
aye.
Councilman Barge.
Aye.
Councilman Wagner.
Aye.
Councilman Gonzalez.
Aye.
The ayes have it. The motion carries. Okay,
We need to do the rest.
so B through F, can we do those? Can we motion to approve the July 7th, 2022 consent calendar as presented with the, yeah, what did you call that, Dinah?
So I'll make a motion to approve the July 7th, 2022 consent calendar as presented with the exception of the June 2nd regular session minutes that we are getting amended.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Next, we'll move to the ad hoc committee report.
Denise, did you hear the second on that?
I did not.
It was
Well,
Nikki.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you. Thank you for clarification.
So I didn't put a report in because it's been a really busy last 3 weeks. We did have a meeting and we just kind of finalized some plans, and for the 4th of July, we did have the skate park and all. And we made arrangements to paint the stars. Did that on a nice 100-degree weather day. 4th of July was busy, hectic, interesting, but we had a good time. Is there any questions?
No, but I want to thank you, Laura, and I want to thank everybody that volunteered. It didn't take one person, it took all people, and we came together and it came off really nice, and your hard work was amazing. Want to thank you for that. And it's meant a lot to me to get together and see you girls work so hard, and all the people do what they did. I'll be sending out thank yous and handwritten thank yous. I don't care to name everybody and give, just, I want to do it personally.
Yeah, that's
So
great.
if you have any lists, can you please share them with me? That goes with the staff too, so that I can get those thank yous out. Thank you.
I did want to also thank you. I put, Susie had posted some pictures. I don't have you on Facebook, so I thank you in the group there. You guys did a great job. The parade was amazing. I even had phone calls from people afterwards saying you started and stuff. So, yeah, it was really good. Festival was really good as well. So
I
thank
had
you.
one question about the dunk tank, because I didn't get any paperwork, and I need paperwork to submit.
Oh,
So I don't know how that payment's gonna work.
I'll get it unless, do you have the check for it? Do you have the check?
No,
for
I
it?
do not. I did not say anything because I don't have any paperwork.
Okay, I get it.
Is there an invoice or something that we could pay
I can get it. It's from Woodburn Proud. Yeah, but I can get in contact with them.
Okay.
And the meeting will be meeting in August, right?
Yeah, we're not gonna meet them
Okay.
this month, yeah.
So maybe
I went,
change.
take a break,
There you go. Smart idea. Good idea sometimes.
decompose.
But thank you. You guys did great.
Thank you, Laura.
Okay, and then presentations, we have the chief, fire chief, Joe Budge, thanks. Coming.
Mayor Gilland and council, I do have a brief report regarding the bond, the fire bond that was approved last May, and how that's going to affect the citizens of Jervis here. As you know, the Woodburn Fire District includes 75 square miles, including cities of Woodburn, Jervis, and 75 square miles around the district. So Denise has got a brief PowerPoint that I'll go through just to talk about the bond and how it's going to affect the citizens here in Jervis. So the first slide here talks about the objectives of the bond that was approved by the district voters. All those are currently underway. We've got 3 vehicles that are currently being purchased, or that have been purchased or being built. We got about a year for delivery on those. There's 1 new fire engine, a new air unit, and a new brush unit that will be coming to the fire district. We've got about $650,000 being spent on equipment replacement. This is all equipment that our emergency responders need to provide our fire protection here for the citizens of Jervis and the fire district. The biggest one that impacts the citizens here is a replacement of the Jervis Fire Station. That's what I'm going to be spending most of the time talking about tonight. The last bullet there talking about the rate that the citizens here in the fire district are paying. We've said that in our literature that we'd want to be taxed at the same rate as the current bond. Now that current bond was referring to the 2001 bond. That was levying at 26 cents per thousand. Right now, to cover the debt that we are incurring with this first poll, it's about 6.9 million. We're bringing out the levy will be 17 cents per thousand. And we don't think they'll ever reach the 26 we've been authorized due to all the developments going on in the district. So next slide there. Yeah. So this is a picture of the old Jervis Fire Station 23. That building was, that station was closed in 2007 and the building was sold. So we've had a need in this community for some time to get this replaced, and that's what we'll be talking about next. So the fire district has acquired the ability to purchase property at Jennings and Butteville Road. There's a 5-acre parcel there that we reached an agreement with the property owner to purchase pending a zoning variance request that we're presenting to Marion County. So that is zoned as exclusive farm use, but there are stipulations in the ORS and the land use laws that allow the siting of fire stations on exclusive farm use property, and we'll be pursuing those exclusions. So we really like this property. Okay, well, here's a depiction of our fire district coverage right now. Those cones represent response area from our existing fire stations. So it's a 4-minute response or driving time for the locating of a station. That comes from the National Fire Protection Standards. Those are they're the recognized international authority for all things related to fire service standards. So we'd like to establish a 4-minute response from each station. And you can see we've got a significant gap right now from the stations we have for the Jervis area. So with our proposed station at Butteville and Jensen, we cover the district quite well. See, it's hard to make out the outline of the fire district, but it's that yellow boundary. And we cover all of that with our 4-minute response almost entirely with the location of the station there. So we also, next slide.
I don't know that I can. Can I see? Can you minimize that? I sure can. Oh, I guess I can't. Like that.
If it's too much, don't worry about it. Other people can see it.
I don't think I should get it.
Yeah, no worries.
So we cover the, all the area of Jervis very well with that station location. We're also covering all the additional properties can be developed in the south part of Woodburn. All that yellow area is urban growth boundary, currently in the urban growth boundary for Woodburn, and it is suited or slated for development. It's running just south of Parr Road for that land use development that will occur. When that land is done, the city will be moving or built up, the city will be moving to the north and be developing up near Crosby Roads. They don't plan to extend the urban growth boundary any further south after that's built. They believe that's going to be filled in the next 5 to 10 years, just depending on how development goes.
But say that again, where that's at.
It's about right in the middle. Parr Road is about right in the middle of that shaded yellow area.
So is this side of Amazon or that side?
Amazon property is to the north on it's this property right here. Here's Amazon property here.
Okay, and where's the fire station at? Behind
The
you?
fire station's gonna be down here.
And where are we?
You're about right here.
Chief,
Is that the one that they have the road kind of closed down? It's over by where all the marshmallows are. That's what I call them, the big hay bales.
No,
You've got that one road is a little bit down.
it's the first
Yeah, so
road
it's first
going out of Jervis, just on the other side of the nursery,
So by McKinnon.
where the nursery,
Yes, that helps.
nursery has their
Okay.
pond, turn left.
That helps me. Thanks.
Hey, Chief,
Do you want to go back to those satellites? It shows you better if the mayor would like to see
hey,
that.
Chief, is that, so will it be on Jennings? Or-
Jensen,
Or Jensen, I mean,
it'll front Butteville and also front.
right on the corner then, north corner.
Okay, so I'm just saying that that's gonna suit or serve all that district, that new development area in Woodburn, and also cover all of the Jervis area very well. Next slide. Okay, the other thing we look at when we cite a fire station is a response route. So that red dotted line represents a new major street that's gonna go from Butteville Road over to 99 East. So it'll be a major collector. It's running right along the south boundary of the current urban growth area. So that'll be a good response route for us going east. We got good response routes going north and south. And that location on Jensen Road allows a quick access to the St. Louis overpass as well. So it's an ideal location for future, being well positioned for future development to cover all of the area in the fire district.
Did you just say they're putting in a new road through there?
There is already. Jensen Road connects, runs along the freeway and goes right up to the St. Louis
I
overpass.
thought you meant the other way, to 99.
Yeah, that's that. Go back one slide. That red dotted line will be a new road, a new major collector road
Okay.
that will be built along the south urban growth boundary there of the city of Woodburn. Urban growth boundary is right along Parr Road. Where his 99 is just, it hits 99 just north of El Paso.
Chief,
Yeah,
is there any chance that we can, as a council, can we get copies of these maps?
yeah, I can get them for you.
So
Sure.
that way we can see where,
Well, this is the city of Woodburn, so I didn't know, I'm just providing this information for you guys. But if you're interested in seeing that more clearly, I can get that for you.
yeah, we're seeing it now, but like to,
Sure.
yeah.
Okay. Go ahead. Okay, so this is a picture of our current ISO ratings. That's the Insurance Service Organization. So the white areas are those that aren't currently being well served with fire protection. You can see that white area around the city of Jervis. That will be all, that dark gray is the areas that are well served. When we fill that, when we get our station located at Butteville and Jensen, our entire district will be that dark gray. And it should earn us a level 2 rating with the ISO. So that's kind of a big deal. Fire service or fire agencies are rated on a 1 to 10 scale. We currently have a 3, which is good, but when we get our station located there and have that coverage gap filled, we should be improved to a 2. And that'll result in about a 5% reduction in all of the insurance premiums that residents pay. So I think that for the average home here in Jervis, that's about half of what they're currently paying for the bond. So they'll get that savings back right away with the investment that's being made in the new station. That's just a picture of how that site will look. We'll also have a training pad or training area there with that station. Next. Okay, so this is what we're currently budgeting. It is a very simple structure. Will house 5 career firefighters, eventually house 5 career firefighters. It's a 2-bay double D building. Now this is a very basic building, and it's what we're able to budget right now, but we're going to be looking for additional funds from the county and from the state to improve that structure. What I want to make sure that everybody here understands is we do have the budget to build a building, and we're now looking for funding from the state and county to improve that structure. It's a picture of the back. This is the same building that the fire station has been. This station has been built in Canby right now. They just occupied it. So this is the overall budget that the Fire District Board of Directors has approved for the project. It's $3.1 million that they've authorized for this project, and we're moving forward with those plans now. So there's just a quick idea about the project timeline. We have that application ready to go to Marion County. We should be, it'll take about 6 months for that variance process to be finalized. We plan to select our contractor by the end of this year, first of next year, and begin construction about this time next year is what we're planning. It'll take about 6 months, 6 to 9 months for that construction project, and we'll initially staff with our student resident volunteers beginning spring of 2024. Eventually, this will become the 3rd staffed fire station for the fire district, and so I think in the next 5 to 10 years, we should see career firefighter staffing that station. Eventually, it'll be always staffed with career firefighters. So, any questions?
No. It's getting late, but thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Anybody else? In lieu of time, is there any way we can move the rest of the agenda to August? Let's see, we have the consumer price index thing next. Or there's some action items that we couldn't have.
It would be nice at a minimum if we could do action items A and C. We could probably hold off on the judge resolutions in next month.
Is council okay with that?
I'm holding off on just doing what is required.
So the consumer price index or the tracker, does anybody have any questions? Okay, consumer price index. I read it and it seemed like there was varying things that you could do. I don't know. I still don't like the idea of the CPI index being picked in December, because I think that even on the graph we see on there that it could drop down and then it could be 8 all month. And then if we did it that way and we picked December, we could lose money or we could be overcharged. And it concerns me. I wish that we could make a better way all the way around, because to do it more gradually so it's not so impactful or so hurtful. I mean, it can be done. I understand that the way she wrote it, but I still think it's going to hurt us in the end if you even use her example of how it was 888 and then it's a 3. I mean, we might be shooting ourselves in the foot, or we might be overcharging our citizens in an impactful way that they can afford. But that's my opinion. You guys can do what you want. I think you've all read it, right? So, I'm gonna make a motion or whatever you want to do.
Well, can I ask a question? I was under the assumption that we're skipping that stuff and moving. to the
Oh,
action
no,
items.
not that. the
You wanna-
CPI.
you wanna do
Yeah,
the
no, 'cause
CPI
We have
tonight?
people here waiting to hear about it,
Okay,
what you're gonna do.
sorry, I was,
Sorry, I mean, I should have clarified that more.
I mean, I feel like, sorry, can I speak?
Yeah, go
Okay.
ahead.
I feel like based on what she said, over the long run, using the same CPI that we've been using will get it, over the long run, you know, we're not looking, yes, looking at 1 year, it might affect, you know, it goes up a little bit higher, it goes up down, but over the, looking at 10 years, it'll stay on track for what.
Yeah,
Does that make
Diana,
sense?
the way I read that was, you know, if you use the annual percentage versus the end of that 1 month one. You know, if you go to the month, if you look at that example, here in like 2022, in December would be 3% in this example, whereas all year it'd have been 8 and 7 and whatever. And if it plays down like that, but if you, so it would be good overall now, but it would be a little bit like more gradual if we did the dividing the months and doing it that way. It would be less impactful, but it would be slower for us as a city.
Well,
Did you get that? I mean, does that make sense? Am
I'm
I
looking at
explaining
her.
that right?
kind of, I think, I'm looking at her numbers, and so I'm just thinking, so we had a 6.5% this year.
Or
And then
4.3.
Or a 4.3, but then if we went with,
December next
like, if
year.
this is what it looks like, then December of 2022, it would be a 3% or a 7, which is even worse than.
Yeah, but you know, yeah, if we did it that, but we're paying all year long throughout the year, we're at 8%, we're buying those chemicals and we're doing all that at that rate. And then you take it, you're only increasing at 3, we're not recovering what we've spent, is how I see that. That's how I see that. It's like taking a quarter.
I can see what you're saying.
Yeah, so I'm thinking, which way would it be better for both the citizens and the city? Should, as a city, we bite it a little bit and take it more gradually on ourselves and try to budget in for that to help the citizens more? Or do we do it the other way and it's down, you know,
Well,
but
so-
then we could take a hit then, or
Right.
they could.
Well, so, because the way that she wrote it, which I found it very interesting, is that, if I can find it again, she basically said that the, if we use the annual average, we're basically lagging behind a little bit. So it's, which I can see your point, like, it could be beneficial for us to be kind of lagging behind because we're letting the people recover.
Thank you.
Before we hit them with a higher
Thank
percentage.
you. That
I
is
can
what
see
I'm
that.
seeing.
I can
That's
see
what I'm
that.
saying. But then I also think that we need to talk about putting in a minimum, you know,
Having that
the way
bottom.
the inflation is and the way we are hurting in the water, just a moment, or Laura, come on up. You know what, like a minimum 3% instead of a 1.6 that it might hit like it did last year where it hurt us. Maybe put a minimal in that resolution so that if we hit the 1.6, but minimally, we're at least gonna get 3%. Does that make sense?
Right, well,
I think we need to add that.
because I think I saw someplace where you can maybe have like a bottom and a top cap, you know, where we're like, we're not gonna go over.
Yes,
8%.
that's what I want,
You know?
because, you know,
Yeah.
to protect the citizens, but to protect ourselves so that we're getting the money that we need, or at least some of it.
Right.
Because this could just bam, or way up. But put that in there as a safeguard. Right. I don't know, does that make sense to anyone that way? At least the city is protected or the citizens are. We're not gonna cap too high and we're not gonna cap too low. That's what I would like to see happen at some point.
But then let the city lag behind in
But
its
you know what, we'll
percentage.
catch up and
Because we'll catch up
Yes,
and kind of letting the
we'll catch
citizens.
up. It
I
will
can see
just
that.
be more gradual. Or we, I don't know, Laura, did you like to add, because this has been your concern.
I'm wondering what the goal is. Is the goal to have the water pay for itself and have a little extra in case something happens? What's the goal? You know, does it pay for itself?
Would you like me to respond?
Yes, please.
So as I explained, the water and the sewer and the storm drain funds are all enterprise zones and we need to treat them as a business. And so the key when you're using the CPI that Deb pointed out the most is, consistency is the key to avoid lagging behind or overcharging or undercharging. It's just be consistent. If you follow the CPI as we have been, it keeps up with the ebb and flow of the economy. It keeps up, and to answer your question, we do need to cover our costs, like a business. We need to run these funds like a business. And also important to remember, we're talking about wastewater where the rates haven't changed for 19 years. They've been unchanged for 19 years. And that hurts. So it is unfortunate for the period that we're in. I know the rates are high, but in all the years I've been here, this is the highest I've seen. Normally they're 2.5. I mean, anywhere from 1.5 to 2.5% CPI. This year is unusually high. Deb's showing, they may go down next year. The rates will still go up, just not as much.
Even with the new constructions of all these new housing? Will that affect it?
Will it affect the CPI?
Yeah.
No, the CPI would apply to everybody, every user. Well, it apply to the rate that's charged to every user.
So how much money were you short last year for the water?
I don't have an exact dollar figure, but I mean,
Ballpark, I guess.
in the water fund, I don't even have that.
Oh, okay. I just,
Yeah, I can tell you in the water fund, it used to be that we were falling behind and we started doing rate increases, and eventually over time, the revenue caught up to the expenditures where we were seeing revenues above expenditures. So,
that's true.
Yes, and for city government, we can't look at profit or loss, but the goal is to be able to cover the operating expenses, which is what this does, in addition to saving for future expenses to provide for new apartment complexes that come in, or, if we look at an urban growth boundary expansion at one point, just to be able to put money aside for future capital expenditures. That would be the goal. And by following the CPI, the way that we have, staying consistent with that keeps up with the ebb and flow of the costs that the city is experiencing to operate the system, while also being able to save for the future.
Well, I could go along with this system, but I believe that it was 7.4, correct?
No, that was a COLA.
No,
6.5.
what was the, for the water, or for sewer?
6.5.
6.5, yeah. I feel that may be a little bit high. I mean, it's gonna be.
So you like the idea of a cap and a
Yes,
decrease,
yeah, I like
or
that.
a bottom and a top?
Cap
I do
on
too.
it. So if it does go way high, which could happen.
I guess
The way
we did.
the inflation's going, it could happen.
I mean, I'm hearing you. I would be nervous to do something like that without talking to the city engineer first, since if the recommendation came from him on this rate structure. I would.
Could you ask him about a cap and a top and a bottom?
Can I make one comment?
Yeah.
The problem with the cap is, except for maybe gasoline, and diesel, most commodities that you buy, even in these high prices, once the prices are set, they don't roll them back next year because inflation went down 5%. So all your chemicals, electricity, all that stuff, it stays. And so even when you, as a consumer, try and conserve your energy footprint, shall we say, like use less water, utilities have to maintain their operating costs. So you're going to get a rate increase quicker sometimes when you conserve than if you go back to using what you used to use before. So when you're looking at CPIs and cost of living, most of that stuff, when they factor that in, those prices stick. So when you get, for example, this year I had 3 increases before June for chemicals. not counting fuel surcharge, delivery charges and all that stuff. So when you start bringing in caps, yeah, it looks good on paper sometimes, but it could hurt you down the road.
Well, if we were to make the caps not clear to the top, but just below the top, and the same thing with the bottom end, bring it up a little bit, that's gonna keep you in the ballpark, I'm pretty sure.
It could.
And chemicals are just like gasoline.
No,
Whenever, no, fuel goes up, then chemicals go
yes,
up
the
right along with
chemicals
it,
goes up,
because that's
but
where they come from.
what I'm getting at is fuel prices will float back down to the price of a barrel of oil. When you get into the petrochemical industry and once those prices go up, they're like electricity and natural gas. They don't roll with inflation. They increase and they stay, and they increase and they stay. And chemicals are the same way. Electricity is the same way. So it's it's a fine line to set caps up and down to float rates.
Well, we did it with the water rate, I mean, we set a percentage on that,
Yes,
so why can't we do the same thing?
but the downside to that is that the large family that is just under that cap and the elderly woman that's by herself and she's way down here, technically she's subsidizing her neighbor's water bill because she's paying just as much as that person who's got 15 people in that house. So
That was the reason why there was and that might have been your idea, I don't know. that We lowered the amount of water they were getting for that purpose, if you remember that.
but then
To
when
get more money out.
yeah, but when we did the rate increase, they raised the cap. So in a sense, you kind of knocked yourself back down a little bit.
Kind of like with the PGE, you can either pay your bill every month and it'll fluctuate, or you can pay the same amount all year long. But then come January bill, your payment's either going to drop or stay the same, or it's going to go up and you're going to owe them money.
Right. Well,
So that's what I like in it too.
Yeah.
And I like having the equalness and knowing that I
as long
can
as
pay the
it's
same
low.
amount, yeah,
Yeah.
and I can follow it.
So what are we gonna do?
It's up to the council. Make a motion.
Make a motion, or Susie was gonna get.
Yeah,
talk to
well, yeah, so what I'm hearing is you are interested in continuing to follow the CPI, but look at establishing a cap, a percentage that we won't go over.
Weren't you gonna talk to the engineer?
Yes, but I'm trying to figure out what I'm supposed to talk to the.
And a
engineers
bottom.
about.
If it's
Yeah.
fair enough to just say like, I don't know, 2%, 3%.
Three, I think at
Three.
least 3%.
Like, saying that we're gonna raise it at least 3% every year, even if inflation goes opposite,
If it was 1.6, we're still gonna get the 3%.
Right.
Because that was too low, and that's where we got in trouble, I think, because we went too low.
Yeah, I'd like to look into that. Everybody agree with that?
We have a consensus to
and
that.
yeah, and then we can revisit and just go with the CPI, like it's been recommended and written out, just,
We could change that at that time.
yeah.
So can I please get clarification of what that consensus is?
For Susie to talk to the engineer.
Okay.
About a bottom number.
A floor, I think they call it
A floor, that's a floor and
Okay,
a cap.
Yes.
thank you.
What would be a safe area perhaps?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's more good.
Yeah, it's good, I'm freezing.
We can always revisit. Maybe change. Or is lower. Okay, so can we move on to the actions items?
A, renew land use planning contract with Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments. Is that Holly Byram?
Yes, this is for our city planner. They're on a year-to-year contract to provide city planning services, and we can also ask for additional services that they provide. We wouldn't be billed unless we requested it. Legal services, like we had Bill Monahan review the city council rules. GIS mapping is something they provide, but any of those would be requested. This is mainly for the land use planner. Her fee right now is $91. This would go up to $94, so $3 more an hour. Asking for consideration for the council to approve the contract.
Can I get a motion, or is there some discussion on this?
I'll make. I'll make a motion to renew the land use planning contract with Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, motion carries. And then we were going to skip to C, is that correct? Is it a big one that we need? I mean, is this something big to discuss in the middle? Or?
Not really.
Let's just
I
do
think
it.
it would be really quick.
Okay, resolution number 22-008, a resolution authorizing an intergovernmental agreement for municipal judge between the cities Jervis, Hubbard, Aurora, Silverton, Mount Angel, Donald, and Sheridan. She's busy. Discussion.
She's a busy little.
Yeah.
I just have a question. I'm wondering why it is that we even need that. What does it do for us?
Well, so I'll explain. We have a municipal judge, Lori Pikulis, who serves us. She also serves the cities of Hubbard, Aurora, Silverton, Mount Angel, and Donald. And in order for all of us to share her, we entered into an IGA, just basically saying we're all sharing the same judge. Well, Sheridan City Council recently appointed her as judge, and so we want to put Sheridan in the IGA. So we can do that by adopting the resolution. This resolution acknowledges that Jervis City Council will allow Sheridan to enter into the IGA with the rest of us, and all the cities that are named in the title of this resolution are doing the same thing. That's what it's for.
So we just need a motion.
Yeah,
Just
a
a
motion. Motion to adopt.
Go ahead and make a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept resolution 22-008, a resolution authorizing an intergovernmental agreement between the cities of Jervis, Hubbard, Aurora, Silverton, Mount Angel, Donald, and Sheridan for municipal judge services.
I will second that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Guys, have it, motion carries. Moving to C, approve Marion County my eye. No, my eye is messed up. Oh, you're not going to see. We read it.
Subrecipient.
So you say-
Approve Marion County subrecipient agreement B as in boy O -4608-22 for 2021 ARPA funds and authorize city manager to sign the same.
So this is the award agreement between City of Jervis and Marion County for the $1 million that we were awarded from their ARPA fund program grant. These documents are on DocuSign, so I would have to be the one to sign them. So that's why in the agenda, the motion would be to approve this agreement and also authorize city manager to sign the same.
Go ahead, John.
Just real quickly, what can we use those funds for?
These are the funds that are going to be used to upgrade the transfer pump and the aeration system out of the lagoons.
So water.
So it's basically saying, yes, we're willing to accept the money that we already have, already planned to use.
Yeah. And it's on there on page 129. John?
Yeah.
In that packet, yeah.
Okay, any more discussion? we make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Marion County subrecipient agreement BO 460822 for 2021 ARPA funds and authorize city manager to sign the same.
A second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
The ayes have it, the motion carries. We can move on to staff reports. If you guys want to. So the city manager report was there.
And we did get the projects that I specified, they were advertised yesterday. Bids will be collected July 27th. So we should be able to have a recommendation for the council to give intent to award for those projects at the August 4th meeting. It is August 4th. So there's that. We've got our annual financial audit scheduled August 17th to 8th through 18th. Denise is a key player in that as our reporter. I will be out July 19th through 22nd. That's our annual OCCMA summer conference. And I also wanted to let the council know that for the first time, I have an opportunity to attend the annual ICMA conference, which is held in Columbus, Ohio this year, September 17th through 21st. Normally, I don't attend. I have a membership to ICMA because it's so cost prohibitive to take part in it. But this year, being president of the association, OCCMA is covering my membership, and I also cover the cost to attend the conference. Lodging, registration, meals, everything. So I would like to plan to attend that September 17th through 21st. 2 of those days are Saturday and Sunday. So that's all I have for money.
Any questions for Susie on that? Okay, move on to the police department.
That written report's provided. Any questions?
Right? Anybody? Hey, John?
I'm the same. Any questions?
No. Okay, with that being said, Mayor and Council business, 4th of July was a really big hit. That's cool. Remember the movie night was nice?
It was good. I think National Night Out will be better because it'll be warmer. I think I got a 61.
On my head. It's pretty warm that
One
day.
thing I do want to ask council about.
Did we do a cleanup of the downtown area? Before the fourth?
Before the 4th, we did. Yeah, we trimmed.
How long before? Was it the day before, 2 days? Whatever?
As far as when you mean cleanup,
Well, before when we've done it, I've seen the workers down here, power washing stuff and. blowing
no, we
stuff.
did not power wash the sidewalks.
And why, the only reason I ask you that is because it just didn't look real clean to me. And I'm not saying anything bad about what happened. I just didn't understand because
I
there
think-
was stuff along both sides of the curbs and stuff like that. So I just was curious about that because it usually looked way better than that to me.
Yeah, no, we didn't power wash, and we did not get to blow. We had spent a lot of time trimming trees on the parade route, Fifth Street, but no, we did not. And since normally the reason in past years too, because we had that chalk fest, so the sidewalks were always spotless for chalk fest.
Exactly.
We didn't do that last couple of years, so no, we did not get the sidewalk.
I hope we can put it back on for the next time. So like, it just was, didn't look very good.
Mayor, since you're on the subject of 4th of July tonight, we do recognitions. I would just like to recognize Chief Chase and his staff, all the officers for taking care of the traffic plan, getting the parade through town, Public Works for doing all the prep work ahead of time, and also volunteering on a holiday where they're not normally scheduled to work. They came in and helped with the parade and garbage coordination and all that stuff behind the scenes. So I think that they all need to be recognized and
I was
and thanked. So thank you very much.
I was going to, but you already did. So. I want to recognize the whole city. I think that we did really well. It It was a very nice celebration. All in all, I think it went really well. But yeah, thank you, everyone. It takes a village. It's not one person. That was great. You got something, Junior?
It would have been better if it would have been done free. Their job.
Oh.
I think they should volunteer, is that what you're saying?
Excuse me, the non is very bruising.
Well, you rode in the car with one of the guys who could have negotiated.
I forgot, not to mention Woodburn Fire for being on hand for the
Oh,
fire.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and in the parade.
And Rocky Sherwood, he did an amazing job. He did bring in 25, 30 entries. He's very special, very, very special guy. And he does have an injury that caused him to be DD. And if anybody out there listening, I'd like to ask you to just stop and leave him alone. If you want to come at me, fine, but you leave him alone, please. Thank you. That being said, go ahead.
Before, years ago, we volunteered for electric or pressure wash equipment, and whatever your food and stuff like that. If you guys are all that busy and stuff, I'm sure there's a few of us like myself who would mind up pressure wash the sidewalks and stuff.
That'd be wonderful.
I love the pressure wash.
Okay, everybody out? I gotta work tomorrow. and I'm so tired.
The last thing, if I can add, is August 2nd. Are we gonna start at 5 or 6? Well,
Your show.
We haven't been able to meet yet because I've been working a lot.
What you guys are organizing it, we just show up.
We usually do it from 5 to 8 and then we do a movie afterwards. So we are going to have National Night Out August 2nd. The school district is graciously providing a barbecued meal for anybody 18 and under. Adults are $2. I always suggest, they're out there and they're giving of their own time. So put a little extra in there. And then hopefully there's gonna be some raffles and there's gonna be a lot of games. I haven't decided if it's a sumo suit that we're doing or squirrels, but I will be shopping. So
All right.
come out.
Thank you. And I will be gone July 21st through the 28th. I'll be back the 27th late. So I'm gonna go get my stuff. Thank you. Time is 9:42 and this meeting is adjourned.
It's actually whenever.
It's on the National Night Out. Every city around the nation does it. Yeah. You know what? Maybe we won't do the